In this video, we'll show you how to remove the fuel tank from a 1980s GM truck. Hi everybody and welcome back to Wrench at Home. Today we're working on my truck again. I have enlisted the help of my brother once again, who you might recognize from an earlier video on my channel in which we did some work on his BMW. I have this annoying issue where my fuel gauge needle is pointing way past full, which is probably caused by a bad ground connection somewhere. Luckily the gauge starts working when the fuel tank is almost empty, but this is far from ideal. Because the fuel sending unit is a pain to get to, and because there is a little bit of welding to be done inside of the cab, right above the fuel tank, I decided to remove the tank completely so I can give it a good cleaning, replace the sending unit a lot easier, and so I can start welding safely. After putting the truck up on jack stands, we soaked the bolts we were going to need to loosen in WD-40, starting with the fuel filler neck bolts. The fuel tank itself is being held in place by 2 tank straps, which in turn attach to the frame rails with 4 large bolts each. They can be a bit tricky to get to because the tank and exhaust are blocking your vision most of the time. Just give everything a good spraying, in this case more is often better.
Mooi dit. Direct naar de demper.
Deze auto wel. Zit er nog een bevestiging? From the fuel tank, 2 hoses run up to the fuel filler neck. The wide hose is the main filler hose, the thinner one is a vent hose used to relieve both vacuum and pressure. We started by loosening the hose clamps at the filler neck, so we could try to remove the hoses from the filler neck which is attached to the rear fender. The years have not been kind to these rubber hoses, however, making them very stiff and hard to remove. So we decided to just pull out the complete filler neck unit.
Zit ik in de Mini?
Ja, dat krijg ik wel.
Maar...
Als die tank aan zakt, dan komt hij er wel uit.
Hallo!
Hallo, het is fertig. Ja, precies. Smarty pants. Top.
Close the door.
Next up, we removed this plastic protective cover that shields the front side of the fuel tank from road debris. Mine is attached to one of the tank straps with only 1 nut.
Hij sterk nog zo'n magnetisch bakje voor.
Ja, daar heb ik heel veel van. Wat was er dan voor? Ja, anders proef nog even een keer.
Nee, ik doe de kant uit.
Before we started work on the large main bolts, we tried to get some extra WD-40 on the bolt threads to hopefully make extracting them easier.
Dat is vast op elkaar. Mooi! Aan huis!
First we attempted to loosen the bolts with a socket wrench. But they were putting up quite the fight and space underneath the truck is limited. So it's time to bring out the big guns.
Kijk, ik heb nog nooit vol succesvol een auto. Nou, wist wat de pest is, dan komt ze niet door.
Klep vanaf?
Klep vanaf!
We removed most of the bolts, but left a couple of them partially in to keep the tank in place. I placed the floor jack underneath the fuel tank to prevent it from dropping down accidentally.
Ik heb al heel los. Lekker. Die zit nog. Maar
To properly get to all of the bolts, we also had to move a brake line out of the way.
oh daar.
Ja.
Ja, ik zo, jij denkt ik hier, daar zit de remleiding zelf nog vast, maar die hoeft natuurlijk net los. En hier zit ik nog in de hoek.
When all the bolts were completely out of the frame rails, we were ready to start lowering the tank down slowly. The fuel lines are still attached to the sending unit in the tank at this point, so we lowered the tank just far enough to be able to get to them. You don't want to lower the tank all the way, because you might risk ripping off or even bending the metal fuel lines that lead up to the engine.
Ja. Als we nou te snel naar beneden gaan, dan doet die achter de leiding omhoog. Ja, het is wel heel mooi vertiefd. Nou.
In my case, there are 3 lines attached to the sending unit. One for the fuel feed, one for fuel return and the third one is for venting.
En die zitten dan mooi rubberslankje weer verbonden onder de pomp.
This thing surely has seen better days. It looks like the friggin' Titanic.
Ik heb er dan nog die bij komen.
Dat is goed vertiefd dan. Van dat?
We didn't even try to loosen the hose clamps or prying off the rubber lines. We just went straight to cutting them. Which again proved to be quite difficult.
Nou, dat bedoel ik. Ik denk, ja. Ik weet het wel, maar de ringen rond wel
Knippen.
So we traded places to avoid irritations.
Maar kleren, het is... Ik snap wel dat ze net heel enthousiast voor is.
Ik roep het. Hij wil net scherp stellen op die slankie.
After cutting the lines, I detached the signal wire which leads to the fuel gauge. I detached the signal wire which leads to the fuel gauge from the sending unit and placed it out of the way so the tank can safely come out. The tank is still about a quarter full at this point, so I carefully lowered it down with the floor jack and then slid it out from under the truck.
Vliegtuigbom uit de Tweede Wereldoorlog.
Ja.
En dat gaat niet, jawohl.
We also removed what remained of the rubber lines from the fuel hard lines.
Eigenlijk nog gewoon kniptankjes zijn. Hè? Als ik hier.
Luckily, the lines all have a different thickness, so I know exactly to which inlet on the sending unit to connect them to later on.
Weet je nog wat is? Oh ja, er zit
Ja, wel worden dik.
For future reference, I laid out all the removed hardware and wrote down wherever they came from. There you go, fuel tank removed. I will be making a video about restoring the fuel tank to former glory in the future, so keep an eye out for that. As always, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see future updates on my truck and other projects. Take care everybody, bye!
Die laatste restje slangen al,